So the title of the article that I decided to do is Experiences of Discrimination and Their Impact on the Mental Health of African American, Asian, Pacific Islander, and Latino men who have sex with men. So before I get started, I think it's important to notate that they do not refer to any of the men as homosexual or bisexual. I think this is to refrain from putting people into categories because some people do not like to be categorized like that. And they left it as men that have sex with men, so they termed it MSM. So the main argument is that these minority men that have sex with men experience depression and anxiety at a higher rate, and that this is due to discrimination. So the hypothesis that the researchers came up with is that there is a link between mental health issues and discrimination, and it's affecting this community. So the methods. The researchers got help via a program in LA called AIDS Project LA. Obviously, this took place in Los Angeles, and members of AIDS Project LA recruited participants from various events and from other places like bars and coffee shops. And after screenings, they were given a 1-hour standardized questionnaire. Compensation, a small compensation like $50 was provided, and then they did a referral system that they call chain sampling methodology. So each initial participant had the duty of recruiting 3 friends who they felt would be eligible, and then the 3 friends were I think probably given like $10 or something if they qualified and did the initial screening, and then they could do the 1-hour standardized questionnaire. I think it's important also to notate that the 1-hour questionnaire was given through a computer system, so it was like a self-interview. This protected against people potentially lying or feeling uncomfortable to answer certain questions that they might have felt in a face-to-face interview or something. And so after all of the screenings, they were able to get 400 men from each ethnic group, which is a pretty large sample size. And so how was the data analyzed? So the survey was quantitative, but they got that result from another phase of this research project that was qualitative. That included 6 focus groups and 35 in-depth interviews, and that's how they made the questions. Materials that they used include a couple scales, one that measures depression and one that measured anxiety in numerical format. And they were looking to see the differences in how racism in the general community and gay community affect those ethnic groups, and how homophobia in general community and straight family and friends affected that community. So the general community is anyone outside of the gay community, and then straight family friends is heterosexual family members and friends if they experienced homophobia from those people. So the results. There were significant findings in African American men and Latinos experienced more racism from the general community, and that led to depression. And Asian and Pacific Islanders experienced more racism within the gay community, and that led to more anxiety. And Latinos experienced more homophobia within the gay community. but there weren't any significant findings in homophobia from their heterosexual friends and family members. So the big picture and recap. The hypothesis was supported. Racism can negatively affect mental health, and it has positive associations with depression and anxiety. It was very interesting how Asian and Pacific Islanders experience racism within their own community, the gay community, and that wasn't really shown in African Americans. So on to my critique and my analysis. The study had very briefly mentioned different backgrounds of the people that they had that participated in the study, and some of the statistics, for example, was that African American men have a higher rate of divorce that participated in the study. And I thought that was very interesting because a lot of those men were married to women, and so that is telling the reader that these men are hiding who they really are, and that's another issue, a whole nother subject. These men are called men on the down low, and that is a very interesting topic. It would be cool to see research done on that, but it's probably really hard because this whole community thrives off of secrecy. So I thought that was very interesting. And I just also thought that the thing that stood out the most to me is that Asian and Pacific Islander men that have sex with men experience the most discrimination within the gay community. This discrimination leads to rejection, and that rejection is what leads to mental health issues. The study mentioned a qualitative phase of this study that was done beforehand, and that's how they were able to analyze in depth why these Asian and Pacific Islanders experience anxiety. So that would be really interesting to read up on and be able to understand. But even as an outsider looking in, it makes sense to me because of how Asian and Pacific Islander homosexual men are portrayed in the media. They have a stereotype of maybe not being as physically attractive as others, other really dumb things that probably aren't true, like maybe small penises. But has a study been done to really, notate that? Most likely not. And this leads to stereotypes, and stereotypes, bringing it back to what we've learned in social psychology, stereotypes help reinforce prejudice, and prejudice gives people a reason to practice discrimination. And I feel like the overarching most important thing to take away from this that I've learned is that discrimination can lead to psychological trauma. And things that this study uncovered was depression and anxiety, but I feel like that's only the tip of the iceberg. What about, how does this psychological trauma further affect them in their life? It could possibly, this is me just hypothesizing, it could probably lead to substance abuse, and other harmful behavior that could hurt themselves or other members of their community. And possibly this could even be a cause for men on the down low, like going into hiding and not fully accepting who they are. The study suggested more campaigns that promote cohesion. I think cohesion is really important, and I think cohesion is extremely important amongst all minority communities, whether it's from, from different ethnic groups supporting each other, or from people that are in the LGBT community supporting one another despite whatever their ethnic differences are. Okay. And then a reference from a picture. Yay.